There's a huge difference between just looking at a property and actually doing your due diligence on a deeper dive, looking at the interior. And today, Gabriel is going to be going through one of the apartment units of that property that we just walked through in the last video. So you're going to see the ins and outs of what his due diligence looks like, not just for what's there now, but also improvements, how he's going to make the units more valuable, increasing the rents, increasing the value of the property and the returns to investors.
All right, let's do it. We got some access to some interiors, and rather than sort of hide and show you guys the best in class, we're going to show you a unit that hasn't been turned at all. So it's full classic. Yeah, I'll let it speak for itself and we'll kind of walk through the different components. So a lot of times I'm looking at the thresholds when I come in, checking out the quality of the door. This is a nice 6-panel door. I don't like the numbering here. So what we'll end up doing is we'll end up putting in a new, cuter light fixture, a new, more modern number placard, either here or the kind of the fancy kind that's 1105 with the fancy texturing. And when we repaint and redo everything, it'll look more like something that you and I would kind of want to live in. On these older assets, you'll see that they go to town on changing out locks, moving doors. And so there's oftentimes, this is actually, I'd call it like medium, where at least the frame is going to close correctly and your doors are going to lock correctly. But sometimes it's so bad you actually have to go ahead and pull out a new frame. Again, this is totally classic, untouched. In fact, all the other units that I've seen don't even have this, which is on most of the units, they have brand new thick trim, 3-inch wood. Here they have this plastic band, which is super ugly, super retro. Obviously, back when it was student housing in the 70s, this is completely untouched. Can't turn the bathroom lights on, I don't think. So it's a little dark in here, apologies. But you can see this must have been an ADA unit. It must have been somebody that needed accessibility. If you have tenants that ask for this, you've got to put this in. And if you've got tenants that walk around and kind of go place to place in a wheelchair, you've got to build them ramps to get in and out of these older assets. So it's just something to consider. It's not the norm, but maybe 1 or 0.5% of your tenants are going to kind of meet those requirements. Now, on the first floor here, I suspect I know what's going on, but they've got carpet everywhere. And this asset wasn't told to me by the listing brokers that it had carpet. So we're keeping track of every unit where it had carpet. The broker said that this had all brand new LVP, which is laminated vinyl plank, beautiful type of flooring. And this clearly does not have it. But the reason that it has carpet is because you can see there's a little bit of shifting if you're here in person. There's probably a 3-inch differential on this side than there is from the middle of the unit. That's a lot of displacement. Irving, where we're at right now, is known for having a lot of foundation movement, and this asset is a great example of it. Not so bad that you need to be worried about bringing a structural engineer out, but so bad that you want to put carpet in the bedroom because it kind of hides the unevenness, versus if you put some other form of flooring like a glue down or something that's a little more firmly attached to the ground, you're going to see it bend and move over time.
Oh my God, it's so important for you to recognize that it's not just the look from the outside of the buildings. It's not just the look of the interior of the buildings. It's actually within the walls. What do the electronics look like? The wiring? What needs to be replaced to make sure that you're using best practices, best materials, creating that best value? Because it's not just about saving money today, it's making that increased value tomorrow. And here's how to do it.
Another thing on this asset that we go in and check, and I'm not going to pull it off right now, but we had our electrician go in one of every type of the units. We want to count these and these switches, outlets, because on an older asset like this, it's more than likely that when I pull this off, you're going to see aluminum wiring. It's something in the 70s. They ran out of copper. There was some concerns about getting copper for construction, so they used aluminum to replace it. And that's actually a fire hazard, as we learned 50 years later. So you've got to go in and retrofit. It's okay to have aluminum wiring hidden behind, but at the actual outlets and switches, it doesn't run enough ampage, and sometimes it can create a fire, which obviously we can't do that. So our insurance, our lender, they're going to require us to make sure that there's some sort of retrofitting to have copper as the connection point here, and we do that really, really well. It's one of the reasons that we dive into some of these older assets where most people don't like that kind of project. It's a project where you're gonna have 6 electricians go into business on every unit. So 6 of them will storm in, do a unit in maybe 1 hour, and you're gonna have to do that every day for like a week and a half. You have to sit over their shoulder and make sure they're not skipping outlets and plugs. They try to go fast, they try to save some money on the equipment. So it's a really heavy burden on the asset management team and the CapEx management team, the people that are in charge of the construction, just to make sure it gets done correctly. Because when the lender comes back or the insurance comes back, they're gonna look at every outlet in a random assortment of units and they better pass. So it's one of those that we gotten really good at because we have a high trust factor with our electrician. Another thing on this unit, this is actually an example of an older breaker box, and we will be replacing these breaker boxes because this thing is outdated. So we gotta do electrical here in the switches and outlets and electrical here on the panels. And it's also part of the opportunity and why we're able to kind of get in and get a great basis on a deal. Let's go to the kitchens and the living area.
As if you didn't know, you spend a lot of time in the kitchen, and the kitchen is one of the most important components of an apartment complex, making sure that it looks good, it looks modern, but without overspending, over improving, where you're not really going to get that value back. A similarity is if you are building a pool at your home. You're never going to make a lot of money putting in a pool, but it does make it a little bit nicer. Same thing with an apartment complex. Improving the kitchens, hopefully good enough that it gets you that increased rent without over investing, where you're not going to get a return on that expense. And Gabriel is going to talk a little bit more about how to improve without over improving and what to look for and what to install.
As most people are probably familiar with, even in an apartment, but definitely in houses, this is a very semi-dated look. Typically you'd want to have a fully open kitchen. This is not the 50s, right, where they would block it off and mom could go hide and make dinner, or dad can make dinner over there in the hidden little closet. Like, you want to be able to see and interact with the people in your living space. In fact, actually, this is a pretty large living space for an apartment complex, for a 2-bedroom apartment, but it's not fully opened up and we can live with it. We're going to be okay with it. In some of the units on this asset, there are dining rooms or nooks, and we actually are going to completely get rid of those and more modernize that space, use that space as a bedroom. Some of the students have gotten hip to it and are already doing that. But again, we got to modernize things. So we will take a fresh coat over this laminate. We're not going to use granite. We're not going to use quartz. This is, again, a C-class asset. I don't try to overdo it. I don't try to make it look like my luxury house, right? Or Nate's luxury house, right? That's not the goal here. I want them to have a great school. I want them to have clean, safe environment to live. And I want the hot water to get hot when they want it to, and the temperature to cool down when they want it to. The basics. You got to take care of the basics. In here, white and white. This is true, classic, old school. We've never upgraded all of our appliances, and that's something we have in our business plan. In addition, as you can tell from this lovely color of the lighting here, this has the office light look. This is as dated as they get. Day one, we will scrap all of these out on any of the units we can get into, and we'll put fresh canned lights. Can lights change everything. They make it feel modern. These cabinets are just a boring, flat, but in good shape wood board. So we'll put fresh handles on it and keep it clean, probably keep the old hinges. On some of my apartment complexes and at different times in the cycle where you could get a nice rent bump by fixing up the kitchen even beyond where it's at, we would completely reface by taking cabinets and putting on that new shaker style cabinet with new hinges. It's not required for this location because there's really no competition. There's not a whole lot of 1970s really well located stuff over here. So we feel like we're gonna make it nice and clean, improve operations and make it look good on the outside. But these basics around the kitchen can stay basic. You're actually gonna have people just as happy here as they would if we put $10,000 more into the kitchen. All in all, we're looking to spend about $7 grand per unit to take it from what is a classic to what we would call a partial upgrade. What we may do, and a good thing to do for those of you that are sort of getting into the business now, is operate for your 4 or 5 years with semi-classic, what I'll call partial upgrades. And at the very end, make sure you leave enough money so that you can test out what does it look like when I take things to a platinum level. Because if you can take 2 of each floor plan, And there's 5 floor plans here, so we'll say the 10 units. Take your last 10 renovations and go over the top. Do something really nice, a platinum. Spend 12 grand, 13 grand on the upgrade. If you do that 10 times, that's one of the best investments you could possibly make, because the buyer will then see and have a proof point of what you can do with 100% of the units. So you can use it as a way to test out the market, make sure you get a good bump, make sure the market's responding positively to the granite countertops and the fancier cabinets and the better appliances, maybe stainless steel, maybe fancier flooring. But that's an opportunity then to say, hey, look, new buyer, your business plan can call for doing 100% of these, and you'll have an opportunity to kind of increase income. You'll be able to increase with value add, and you can demonstrate that value add at the end of your hold. It's a great way to kind of push that purchase price, get more buyers interested. So interiors are a great way to not always necessarily do everything day one, but save some of it for the end so that you can kind of prove a storyline for your next buyer. And then I'm looking for a bathroom. Here we go. All right. This is my favorite area. Now, a lot of people, they'll go in, they're renters, they're gonna go in and they're like, all right, I couldn't deal with this shower. It's not my style. But for C-class tenants, this works. It's efficient. We do like to beautify. So this is an ugly unframed mirror, and this is a pretty ugly vanity here. Overall, this whole space, we will typically upgrade this section because look, a lot of times it's a guy and a girl couple looking for where they're going to live and their kids are going to go with them because there's great schools here. The ladies of the house oftentimes make the move-in decision on an apartment, and they'll go straight to the kitchen and straight to the bathroom. So even though this is a tiny space, and this is actually technically the add-on on one of the extra bedrooms, there's a bigger master bathroom on the other side. It's really important to kind of go as far as you can. We'll do a better resurface job here, update the fixtures, and frame up the mirror and change the lighting. But the reason this is my favorite room isn't because of the aesthetics and how pretty we can make it. It's because it has the toilets. It sounds crazy, but the most money that I've made has been from decreasing expenses, not increasing income. Over the last 3 projects that I've done, I've had to get really good at that because the market's been tough. I mean, you can increase income by filling up occupancy, but if you're buying a nice stable deal like this that's 92% occupied, 93% occupied, there's not a whole lot of room there. There is a lot of room on the expenses, and one of the biggest expenses on these assets is their utility bill, which is driven by water. These things flush 1.6 gallons. We try to cut that number in half. Cutting the water sewer number in half cuts down our utilities by a substantial amount. It goes straight to the bottom line, and ultimately you can add millions and millions of dollars in value by adding a couple 0.8 gallon toilets. We use a special technology where it's just as strong of a flush, it's just as strong of an experience, and we have a team that does it for us. I don't like personally changing out the toilets. So in the first couple weeks, we will go in and just boom, 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 knock every single unit out. Every toilet will get replaced with the 0.8 gallon toilet. We'll fix aerators. We'll look for angle stops on the back of stuff. And at the end of the day, we'll have an asset that's a lot easier to maintain. No toilets where the flappers just dripping water down. We fix all of that. And it's where I make usually the most money, way more than rehabbing a closet or changing out the doors to be prettier. It's where it's at. And then lastly, I'll just point out that windows on these older properties, you almost always want to leave them alone. It's almost never worthwhile. There are some programs that will come occasionally that give you discounts on changing out windows. When that's available, you take advantage of it. But for the most part, you're going to leave these sort of uglier, older aluminum frame windows, and you cover them with as nice of 3-inch blinds as you can find. These 3-inch blinds hold up a lot longer than the 1-inch skinny ones, and they're about the same price. So this is kind of what we do on all of our assets. But look, this thing has a lot of room to grow. So hopefully when we get Nate back here, we'll show you what our renovations look like and sort of our celebratory, hey, we closed, hey, we're fixing things up.
So now we've gone through the outside of a property and inside of the property. You're doing the due diligence that's necessary for you to make the right decisions in getting your next deal done. But that's not everything. You got to make sure that you have your capital stack, your financing all set up. So in the next video, we're going to dive more into how to actually pay for that real estate. So stay tuned.